Good evening, sir.
Hello, Sahadev Kumar. Good evening.
Sir, your voice is too much audible.
It's not clear.
It's clear, but it's like uh, it's like sound box.
Loud, sir. It is telling like your
Louder.
voice. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Morning. I retried. After that, I joined. Around six were there, but nobody was answering. You were there
Sir, we
Sir,
that
joined
time.
three,
I
four
was there,
times.
sir. Your voice was not audible that time.
Uh-huh. Okay. So today we will discuss firewalls. This is the last topic in the fifth module. After this topic, we will go to the fourth module. As already informed, 17th, 18th, 19th, you have second test wherein we'll be asking multiple choice questions. Third test will be descriptive one, and university will be shortly deciding on the question paper pattern and examination conduction. So let us study, compare the entire syllabus, but some 3 to 4 modules you have to be very strong, very perfect. That is better at this point of time. Okay, we'll come back to the topic of the subject Windows firewalls and Linux firewalls. In the subject, they are not explained in detail. These are one small topic in the fifth module, but it is required to go with an hour of discussion with respect to these topics before going to the Windows firewalls and the Linux firewalls. Just we will have a recap of firewalls. As we are all aware, firewall can be categorized based on its generation. We'll say first generation firewalls. For example, packet filter firewalls are first generation firewalls. Packet filtering firewall is used to control network access by monitoring outgoing and incoming packets and allowing them to pass or stop based on source and destination IP address protocols and ports. And the policy of the organization is implemented in the firewall configuration. You are aware of these basics. Now, what is a Windows firewall? How to customize it in a simplest way? We have to understand. Similarly, Linux firewall and its different modes we have to understand. Friends, in this topic, you should write, you should know what is a Windows firewall. Once we know firewall, it is easy to write with respect to the Windows firewall. We also know that Windows firewall is a Microsoft application that filters information coming to your system from the internet and blocking potentially harmful programs. The software blocks most programs from communicating through the firewall. Windows firewall filters informations coming to your system from internet and blocking potentially harmful programs. Users simply add a program to the list of allowed programs to allow it to communicate through the firewall. When using a public network, Windows Firewall can also secure the system by blocking all unsolicited attempts to connect to your computer. We should remember that the first release of Windows Firewall was called Internet Connection Firewall and was released in Windows XP Service Pack 2 with along with the operating system. The firewall was also given as a simple steps goes with respect to the Windows Firewall on or off. You have to understand something. Let us take an example of Windows 10 and we'll discuss some of the steps of Windows Firewall. Windows Firewall allows you to customize settings for both private and public networks. You can also turn the software on or off. It will be on by default. There are steps that Windows 10 version of the operating system firewall follows. Generally, you can go to the search box, type there firewall. Go to search box, type firewall and click enter. Then select from Windows Firewall, turn Windows Firewall on or off. This is very simple one you can try with this steps. With these steps you can try how to on or off Windows 10 Firewall. Okay, please explore that. Even though these things are not asked, simple steps better to know for the point of view of the examination. Customizing the Windows Firewall. How to customize the Windows Firewall? We should know, and we are knowing that Windows Firewall or Linux Firewall can be configured. Most of the time, Windows Firewall will be having buttons, checkboxes, which helps you to easily configure the firewall. Whereas in case of Linux, you have to use commands, specific commands to configure the firewall. What is customizing the Windows Firewall or what is customizing? Generally, we customize the settings for each type of network, what type of network we are using and what we want to do the customization with respect to private networks and public networks. That means we'll be able to modify the settings both in the private network as well as in public network. In private network settings, there will be one radio button, turn on Windows Firewall. If you click on that, it will turn on. And there is one checkbox in that block all incoming connections, including those in the list of allowed apps is given. Notify me when Windows Firewall blocks a new app. So I have clicked on the second checkbox, notify me when Windows Firewall blocks a new app. Therefore, whenever some software you are going to load or download, or whenever certain application you are going to run, the Windows blocks that and asks the admin permission to allow it. The second radio button is turn off Windows Firewall, which is not recommended. Whenever, especially when you are using your computer, maybe desktop, laptop, you are advised to turn on the Windows Firewall. Come to public network settings. Here also, turn on Windows Firewall is recommended. Turn off Windows Firewall is not recommended. And there are two checkboxes. One, block all incoming connections, including those in the list of allowed apps. The second one is notify me when Windows Firewall blocks a new app. You can click the check box second. This is with respect to the Windows firewall. Now we will go to how to set up firewall in Linux. A firewall is a network security system that filters and controls the traffic on a predetermined set of rules. And these rules comes from the policy of the organization. This is an intermediary system between the device and the internet. So this is the basic with respect to Linux firewall. We can define as just now we recited. How the firewall of Linux works is an important but simple question. Most of the Linux distributors ship with the default firewall tools that can be used to configure them. We'll be using IP tables, the default tool provided in Linux to establish a firewall. IP tables is used to set up, maintain, and inspect the tables of the IPv4 and IPv6 packet filter rules in the Linux kernel. Chain in Linux. So here I think now it is a little bit visible. Chain, okay, chain in Linux firewalls. Here what is a chain is the question. Simple set of rules. We have three chains which are used to process the traffic: input chains, output chains, forward chains. Input chains in a Linux firewall I am talking. Any traffic coming from the internet towards your local machine has to go through the input chains. That means they have to go through all the rules that have been set up in the input chain. Output chains. Any traffic going from your local machine to the internet needs to go through the output chains. Forward chain. Any traffic which is coming from the external network and going to another network needs to go through the forward chain. It is used when two or more computers are connected and we want to send data between them. Okay. So these are the types of chains. What are the policies? See, policies comes as rules. In every chain, input, output, in every chain, we have certain rules which are framed based on the policies. Then what are the different types of policies that we can think of in a Linux firewall? There are three actions which the IP table can perform on the traffic, and those actions are called policies. That means I have accept policy, my accept policy is this. I have drop policy, my drop policy is this. This is when I will be dropping the packet. This is my reject policy. This is how I am going to reject the packet. This is what is required for a firewall. As per this, accept, drop, and reject are the three different policies that we have to understand with respect to the Linux firewall. When traffic passes the rules in its specified chain, then the IP table accepts the traffic. That means it opens up the gate and allows a person to go inside the kingdom of thoughts. Something, right? It allows. When the traffic is unable to pass the rules in a specified chain, the IP table blocks the traffic. That means the firewall is closed for those packets. Hence, packets are dropped. The third policy is the action taken to reject policy or reject action, which is similar to the drop action, but it sends a message to the sender of the traffic stating that the data transfer has failed. As a general rule, use reject when you want the other end to know the port is unreachable. Use drop for connections to host you don't want to people to see. These are the three different policies. Some more topics, some more information with respect to firewall in cybersecurity. Future talks about cybersecurity firewall where the functionality of the firewall has to be explicitly defined for different applications in order to implement the cybersecurity, in order to implement the blockchain concept, in order to implement augmented reality cloud security, virtual reality cloud security, different new technologies are going to come in the near future. So, cybersecurity firewall is a concept which is evolving. Cybersecurity firewall is a network security system which can either be a hardware or software that protects the trusted network from unauthorized access from external networks and external threats. How cybersecurity application works is an important question. You have to know the basics of it. Therefore, I have given this as one important point in your discussion. In recent times, dependence on online transactions for daily needs has grown many folds. Especially, you might have observed online transactions of the bank or different businesses have been drastically improved, increased exponentially during the COVID-19 lockdown period. However, at the same time, while people are not getting alcohol to drink and make some nuisance, people have started showing their talents on the internet, and cyber frauds, cyber crimes have also increased to a greater extent. That means under different situations always there are some different types of threats. Internet is always prone to different multiple threats. Any organization or any individual who expose their systems on the internet have to endeavor to safeguard their resources and information by implementing appropriate techniques to circumvent these threats. One such technique is firewall, and we talk about cybersecurity firewall. As you know, cyber world or cyberspace is a marketplace of all devices and entities that are interconnected using the internet, also known the World Wide Web. Communication between different entities in cyberspace, namely large enterprise systems, financial applications, software as service on the cloud, institutions, small and medium enterprises, self-employed individual laptops, desktops, mobile applications, all are prone to different types of threats. A threat to an entity in this cyberspace is threat to its growth, hence has to be addressed. Data theft, for example, data misuse, for example, impersonation, for example, credit card and debit card frauds, phishing, spamming, denial of services, all are to be addressed. To address any applications security, firewall is important. A threat to an entity in the cyberspace can be any of these as told. This simple diagram illustrates the same. Large organization defines a trusted network or a defined private workplace of resources that they require to expose to the external world or public networks for a purpose. All their applications and systems published on the internet or the public are placed within this defined perimeter of the organization trusted network. Organizations are continually on the lookout for improved methodologies to secure these applications from unwarranted threats. Ultimately, we are talking about the firewall. Firewall is one such solution placed at the perimeter of the organization internal tested network where the user gain access to the application. Then what is a cybersecurity firewall? A cybersecurity firewall is a network security system which can either be a hardware or software that protects the trusted network from unauthorized access from external networks and external threats. So, cybersecurity firewall not only just filters, it works to curb to avoid the threats. In this connection, as I have already told you, artificial intelligence and machine learning based firewalls are going to come in the near future. It uses the mechanism of filtering of data by using a defined set of policies that help restrict access to the applications and systems. It acts like a gatekeeper and monitors and controlling incoming and outgoing network traffic. Any specific traffic in the form of requests for access, requests for data to a resource behind the firewall and inside the trusted network will be inspected, analyzed, and is allowed to pass or blocked based on predefined security rules. The security rules are configured into the firewall and are customizable just as I have shown an example in the previous slides. Various implementations of firewalls. How firewalls are implemented. They are hardwares ranging from entry levels, mid range to high range. A load of simultaneous hits on the entity we are protecting. There are software based firewalls. Large organization install high-end and dedicated hardware firewalls. So a firewall can be a hardware or software. We expect firewall to ensure that all traffic from the external world onto the system or application is mandatorily routed through the firewall. The rules defined ensure isolation and detection of all possibilities of unauthorized incoming traffic. Denial of unauthorized traffic, passing of all unauthorized traffic, learning and improvisation of rules, identification of a right fit firewall for the expected load is imperative to ensure performance is not impacted. This is the expectation from the firewall. Advantages and disadvantages of firewall, a common question. Advantage is an outcome of the effectiveness of implementation of rules and controls on the firewall. The firewall is effective when it can handle all possible external threats. A disadvantage is that firewalls cannot prevent internal threats, virus attacks, and authentic mechanisms used by hackers. Organizations have to implement other mechanisms and controls to circumvent these threats. Threats like intrusion detection system and intrusion prevention systems, attacks from the internet of virus, trojans, spyware, ransomware, denial of service, malware can be foiled by implementing an antivirus and other prevention and detection system alongside firewalls. Friends, internal threats are threats from the user inside the trusted network who have malicious intentions and have all the access to commit. But the firewall has to be configured to take care of how to curb, how to reduce the threats. I think this much of discussion is sufficient with respect to the firewalls. We have covered today both Windows firewall and Linux firewall, and the simple way of customizing them, advantages and disadvantages of the firewall. So with this, I'll be closing today's class. I'll be uploading this video onto the YouTube. Motivate your friends to attend few more classes to complete the syllabus. From next class onwards, we can take up the fourth module. Then I will conduct some revision classes with respect to the second test. That is, I will be revising third and fifth module, and I will be covering some of the topics in the fourth module. As quickly as possible, we will cover the syllabus. Friends, you may be given some practical sessions with respect to your laboratories. I thank one and all for patiently listening and attending this class. Thank you.